So these are the goggles that come with the kit. And before someone asks, yes, you can fit these LED matrices and some other goggles, but those goggles have to be pretty big. I'll add the size, the length, and the width of this LED matrix when you assemble it on screen here. And if you have your own goggles that you want to fit this LED matrix into, you can buy the kit without the goggles. It's a little bit cheaper, but I would just recommend sticking with these ones if you want. So we're going to go ahead and try to mount this LED matrix into this goggle here. So if you look on the side here, there are all these holes here. So what you want to do is you want to fit the matrix in the eye here, and then feed these wires through one of these holes here. I'm just going to choose the bottom right one, but you could choose whatever one you want. Just take all your wires and jam it through the plastic here onto the other side. So there's one matrix fitted with the wires left out. So I'm going to go ahead and fit the left one too. A small tip is, if you want to easily fit them through this hole, just take scissors and cut them at an angle so they're all kind of lined up like that. And they're much easier to feed through the hole here. Well, there's both matrices with the wires run through the holes here. Hopefully you watch this before buying components. You can use smaller wires. You can use something like enamel wire, and that'll be really easy to feed through these holes. So yeah, or you could use ribbon cable like I did here. It doesn't matter. I think the ribbon cable looks a little better anyway, but that's just me. Anyway, so we're just going to start with the right LED matrix. So what you're going to do is you're going to trim these wires down to size. Leave around 3 to 3.5 inches of the wire here, and then just trim off all the rest. So you have something like that. And it's a little bit neater. And I'm going to go ahead and do that to the other side. Now we're going to go ahead and trim all of this material here. We're going to trim off about 1/8 of an inch of insulation off of each wire on both sides, and we're going to tin all these wires. So now that all these wires have been stripped, we're going to go ahead and tin all these wires. You might want to cover up the lenses to keep solder and flux from getting on them. Okay, so now that both sides have been stripped and tinned, we're going to start soldering these matrices to the matrix driver boards. So in order to do that, make sure to position your matrix driver boards properly, so you have the shorter length of wire going to the one on the right and the longer length of wire going to the one on the left. So now we're going to connect each one of these wires to one of these pads on the matrix driver boards. So each side of the matrix has 8 wires, so there's 8 wires here and 8 wires here, and then there's also 8 pads here and 8 pads there. So the bottom wires here go to the pads labeled 0 through 7, and the wires here on the right go to the pads labeled DP through G. So this part is a little critical that you line up the proper wires with the right pins with the right pads on the matrix driver board. So don't worry, I'll upload a diagram showing you which wire from here to connect to which pad here. So the top one, that's this here, and that's this connection. So that gets connected to the pad labeled DP, which is this over here. So now's the fun part of figuring out which wire goes to what. So I have to go figure out where the heck this wire is in this bundle. The easiest way to do that is just to pull on it, and you should be able to see that a wire gets retracted. And let's see that again. So it looks like it's this wire. So I'm just gonna trim off a little bit here, and solder it to the DP right there. So in order to solder it, all you have to do is just touch the wire to the pad and just touch that with a soldering iron, and that connection will be made. Alright, so then the second wire, which is this one here, gets connected to the pad labeled A. Again, same process. And then the third wire right here, that one gets connected to the pad labeled B. So I'm pretty sure you get the pattern now. The top one is DP, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G for the very, very bottom wire. So I'm going to go ahead and connect these wires to the proper pads. And then here's the very, very last wire, and that gets connected to the pad labeled G. So there's that. There's all of these all these rows connected to the matrix driver board here. So now you might want to untangle these wires over here. We're going to solder these columns to the pads labeled 0 through 7. So the one on the very, very left goes to pad 0. So I'm going to find that wire, and I'm going to solder it to the 0. Alright, and then the second from the left, which is this one here, we're going to solder to the 1. And then the next one, which is the third one here, we're going to solder to the 2. And so on until we solder the very last one to the 7 here. So just follow the wiring diagram, you should be able to figure it out pretty easily. And once you finish soldering everything, go ahead and flip the switch on the battery pack, and this is what you should see. You should see all the LEDs light up, and looks like there's a discontinuity right there in that row. So basically you should see all these LEDs light up, you should see the lights turn on this way, and then this way, and then it should go to the standard animations. This is the first thing it displays, and then it goes through all the standard animations. So as you can see, these 3 LEDs don't work here, and I'll show you how to fix that, or if a column doesn't work. So you see these 3 don't work, and let's fix those. So here on the back side of the LED display, LED matrix, we see that there's a break in the connection going from here to there. So that's why these 3 LEDs aren't working. Say you had these 3 LEDs that weren't working, you would look for a break in connection along this line. So if these 3 weren't working, I would look at the connection right there. So I'm going to go ahead and fix these. To fix this, all you need to do is just put it back into place and add a little bit of solder. And just like that, it should be fixed. Ta-da! All the LEDs work. So there's one matrix completed. Now we just have to wire up the second one to the second matrix driver. And you pretty much follow the same procedure.